I don't know how to see if anyone is in the live or not. When I let you go, let you see. Hello. So I'm reading scary stories tonight. I have never been live on YouTube before, so I'm not really sure how this works. But hi, how are you? I am going to be reading some scary stories. I've never been on YouTube live before, like I said. So the stories that I'm going to read, I think I'm just going to start reading them as soon as we get a couple people in here. I normally go live on TT, not here. So I'm not sure how it works. And I'm not sure if there's like a moderator or not, but I will be telling scary stories. That's what we're doing here. I'm telling scary stories. If you don't know who I am, my name is Kajsa and I tell scary stories on YouTube that you guys submit into me. So I can't tell like when people comment or not. Caught you live. Yeah. Hi, how are you? Doom Productions. How's it going? And hello, TW. So you guys, even if we just have a couple people in here, I am going to start reading some scary stories. Is that what you guys want me to do? Hey, Chris, how are you? So yeah, scary stories. Let's see. I have some in my inbox. So there was actually one that I read tonight that was really super interesting that I'm actually going to pull up right now if my freaking thing will just let me get to it. Let's see, all male. Okay, so this story is pretty crazy. Oh, you know what? It is in my pictures. 1 second. Okay, so scary story time. Here we go. This one, I found you on TT. Oh, nice. I found you a couple weeks ago. Love your videos. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Jackson and Chris and Doom. I appreciate you guys so much. So this story that I got today is crazy. It is about a girl who astral projects. Oh, I found you a couple weeks ago. Oh, only, what does that mean? Only? Hi, Ashley. So, the story that I'm about to read, this girl, first of all, it's really, I'm gonna struggle to read it because of the grammar, but I'm gonna do my best. But it's about a girl who started having sleep paralysis and then she astral projected and then she astral projected and started seeing things. Thank you for liking the live. And started seeing things in places that actually existed. Like she went to places that actually existed. And then she saw something really scary. So she thinks that something is going on in Ohio that is absolutely terrifying. So I'm going to start reading the story and we'll just go from there. Okay. All right. So she says, this started 10 years ago. When I was 10 years old, my stepmom bought a Ouija board and used it in the house we used to live in Georgia. We were in Alpharetta, Georgia. My dad had a best friend. He lived I just messed it up. He lived across the street from us. That will be important later in the story. My stepmom played with the Ouija board, and I remember her saying something about knives flying at her, and she was scared while she was playing the Ouija board. Well, I don't think she closed out her session because the next thing I knew, I was in bed and I couldn't move. I couldn't speak, and I felt something wrapped around my ankle. I shifted my eyes down to my legs and I saw a skeleton with no head. And then I shifted my eyes to the right because I saw something in the corner of my eye. It was a little girl. She had blonde hair with like ringlet curls. She had a red ribbon in her hair and it was only her head that I could see. And she was just laughing at me while the skeleton was literally pulling me off the bed. And I don't know if my stepmom had heard like the bed moving or what, but she came in there and she saw the skeleton and freaked out. I was like, please let me sleep with you, please. I was only 10 years old, you know? Well, I went into their room and I kept thinking to myself, something bad is going to happen. Something bad is going to happen. Well, the next day we got some really bad news. My dad's best friend who lived across the street had passed away. I had not seen the little girl or the skeleton since. But fast forward a couple years, and I'm laying in bed with my two children and my fiance at the time, and I cannot move again. Like I cannot move anything but my eyeballs. All of a sudden, in the corner of my eye, I see a black figure. He gets on top of me and I move my fingers a little bit. I'm trying to get my fiance's attention. I can't talk, I can't scream, but I'm pinching my fiance somehow. And he wakes up to see whatever it is on top of me. He sees it. He can't believe his eyes and he blinks. It's gone. I can finally move. I can finally breathe. I can talk. And this has been happening to me for about 10 years, just going on and on for 10 years. Me and my fiance ended up breaking up and I got my own apartment in Shelby, Ohio. Well, one night, me and my daughter were asleep and I was sleeping when suddenly I woke up. The TV had turned on. I wake up to the TV turned on to static. You know that white fuzzy screen? Yeah, it was that. And the next thing I know, I see the black figure again. That's been with me for years now, off and on. He keeps coming and he keeps coming to the point where I just finally say, I can't do this anymore. I start putting Bibles underneath my bed and I don't see him for like a month. Well, a month later, I'm sleeping. I wake up to my TV turning back on. It's that white fuzzy screen again. And I see him standing there. There's Bibles underneath the pillow, my daughter's pillow and my pillow. And this made him really mad because he couldn't get through to me. I can move. I can see him while I'm awake. I can look at him wide awake. I can see him while I'm being wide awake. Sorry, she repeated that a lot. But the next thing I know, I look at the TV and there's this woman crawling out of the TV. She's looking at me. She comes up to my bed, pushes me back down on my bed, and I slip back into sleep paralysis. The sleep paralysis demon is on top of me and able to touch me again. The woman says to me, "We need your help. We have been watching you and we need your help." She then takes me after I say, "Okay, if this is what it takes to leave me alone, I'll go with you." She takes me to this place. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but she takes me to this place that has spaceships. And I think we're in space, but we're not. So I don't really know where we were. I don't know how to explain it, but there was something evil there, something not good at all. And I look over and I suddenly see my daughter's with me. She said, "Mommy, I'm scared." I told her it was okay. "I got you, baby." I guess she had woken up and followed us into my astral projection or whatever this was. And I don't know what my purpose was there or how to get rid of whatever evil thing they wanted me to get rid of, but I kind of just grabbed the woman, threw her in a room and locked the door and left her in there. Whatever this was, they were happy with. That they finally sent me back home. When I woke up in the morning, my daughter said, "Mommy, you were very brave to take that scary woman and lock her up in that room." She remembered it like she was in the astral projection or dream with me. And finally, recently, I haven't had sleep paralysis demons since that happened. But I've been astral projecting to places I have never been before that are real. So I now astral project all the time. There used to be an abandoned motel/hotel in New Jersey. I've never been to New Jersey a day in my life. And I saw the layout of this hotel. Then YouTube pops up and my brother and sister are looking at it. It's the same exact hotel that I saw. It's an old haunted abandoned hotel. It had the exact same pond next to it. It had the exact same park next to it. This has been happening to me. It happened to me about 4 or 5 times. All the places that I've been are real. I've seen them before and they're actually real. I feel like there's something going on. I don't know how to explain it, but somewhere in Ohio, there are like these monster things. They are almost tall. They are tall, almost translucent, and they will find you if you're not hidden. And I mean hidden and quiet. And they overlook this little town in Ohio. I have no idea what the town is called. I just know what it looks like, and I know that they have humans working for them, and that they had humans in these camps, and they were killing all of these people. I ended up hiding in a crawl space with pillows. And I put pillows around the opening of the crawl space where there was an outline. You couldn't see up there at all, and I had made it through one only to end up going back to the factory type place, and then I woke up. And I keep having these dreams about these things. I think they're real. So that's crazy. I don't know. Guys, that's inappropriate. I don't know if she would be comfortable saying that. Thomas, let's see. Oh my gosh, we need a moderator in here. Who wants to be the moderator? Wow, that's pretty cool. She was astral traveling. Yeah, and seeing some crazy things. Yo, Mod, thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate it. I appreciate you so much. Okay, I just made you a moderator. Jeez, people are crazy. So that story, the way that I read it, it was kind of like the words were jumbled and it was hard to read. Flesh pedestrian. Yes, I can look for a flesh pedestrian story. Hold on one second. I'll look in my email for one. If that's what you're asking me for. Let's see. Do we have this one? Or cousins, and I ran back to my grandma's house. Let's see, jot form. So I'm not sure if you're ever going to see this. Okay, so I can read this one. This one is kind of long, but I can read it. So this one is about flesh pedestrians. You're the best. Thank you, Doom. Okay, so here we go. I think this one is about flesh pedestrians, but we're about to find out. So I'm not sure if you're ever going to see this or anything, but I just low-key need to tell someone about this. So basically, I feel like I should start off with I'm Native American. I was born on a reservation, but after a couple of years, I moved to the city. While living on the reservation, you'd think a lot of scary things would happen, but that wasn't until I was 3. Now, I know a majority of people can't remember much when they are 3. To be honest, I don't either. But if there's one vivid thing I remember, it was seeing something I should have never seen. Seen in my culture, we are told seen in my culture, we are told the basics. Never whistle at night, don't run in the house at night, and don't tell scary stories at night. In fact, don't even go outside by yourself at night or look outside the windows. Well, this particular night, as much as I can remember, I was sleeping on the bed with my mom and my stepfather along with my older sister. My older sister is about 3 years older than me. In my culture, we have these kinds of ghosts that you are never supposed to see, obviously. But this one night, I woke up to someone yelling. It was nighttime and you couldn't really see much. We were on the second floor of the house with a window overlooking our small dirt lawn. And at first I didn't move, but the yelling got louder, and suddenly it sounded as if it was in my ear. Hey! My mom says. She and my stepdad woke up to me crying. And the first thing I did was crawl to the window where they said I stopped crying and started screaming. What I remember seeing was this sort of spirit, not the good kind. His face was pale white. His lips were black. He wore an all black outfit, yet his face was pure white. He wore a hat, the kind you'd see bullfighters wear, except for more pointy. The hat was flat on the top and on the sides pointy, so pointy that the points were just about shoulder length. I don't remember anything past that. A couple of years later, I'm turning 10 and visiting my family on the same reservation. There was a carnival going on, so my cousins and I decide to go. We have fun and we return home around 12 a.m. We decided to go get some snacks at a gas station really close by. We walked to the gas station and get a couple of snacks and slushies, but suddenly a cousin of mine decided we should go for a walk. We all agreed, and at first we were just playing around, making fun of the drunk aunties and uncles, arguing, pushing each other into the mud puddles. But all the fun ended when we suddenly heard someone call my name. We turn around but don't see anyone. We brush it off, continue walking, but now we're in the back roads of the small village. Suddenly, my cousin tells me he got a bad feeling. We should just walk home. We all agree and we begin to walk home, but are stopped off in the near distance. The moonlight shows and someone is in the middle of the dirt road just dancing. But think native traditional dancing. This scares us. At first we think it's a drunk person until suddenly we heard faint chanting in our native language and bells jingling. We quickly turn around and begin to walk fast, interlocking our arms, making sure not to lose the others. We make it back around the corner of the gas station where there's flickering street lights. But 2 houses away from our grandparents' house, we hear someone yell, "Hey!" I know it was stupid, but I immediately stopped walking. I felt goosebumps over my entire body, and suddenly it felt so cold outside, I started shivering. My cousins are trying to get me to move, but I couldn't. Then I hear it again. "Hey, look up!" And I can't really describe the voice. It sounded like a grown man, but a child at the same time. I looked up at the house next to us, and I see someone dancing on the roof. twirling and humming, its arms out like a scarecrow. Suddenly, I couldn't breathe. It turns its head, and I see the pointy hat. I immediately start running to the house. My cousins, suddenly frightened by what they heard but somehow didn't see, they run as well. We immediately tell our grandma and our grandparents what we saw. They got mad at us for staying out so late and make us go to bed. But we couldn't, because not even 5 minutes later, we heard someone outside the front door yelling, "Hey! Hey!" Our parents immediately push us into our grandparents' room with our younger cousins. The men go outside to check who is yelling. 5 minutes later, they come inside and they're putting on their jackets, boots, grabbing flashlights, lighters, and phones. They wouldn't tell us anything. They just left the house in a hurry. The next morning, the men returned. They wouldn't let us listen to their conversation, but the walls were thin. Our uncles spoke to our grandma and our grandpa, telling them that there was something following us home last night. And whatever followed us, they chased us all the way to the back roads to a small abandoned prison no one goes to nearby. But they lost whatever they were chasing. To this day, sometimes I still hear bells jingling outside my bedroom window. I hear whispers and sometimes yells of someone saying, "Hey!" I told my mom about this. She tells me to stop asking about the story. She says I saw a ghost when I was young, but that's all she'll tell me. I've seen the medicine man a couple of times. He says there's a witch attached to me. He finds my hair or fingernails I throw away, basically going through my trash and finding things and using them against me. I still see the man in the pointy hat in my peripheral vision peeking at me around corners. I can hear him dancing in my room when I'm alone at the house and sitting in the living room. I can even hear him calling my name, telling me to come follow him. Sometimes when I'm sleeping, I dream of him, but in the morning, I forget what his face looks like. I only remember his black mouth and soulless eyes. Even if I'm sleeping late at night listening to music, I can sometimes hear him tapping on my window or faintly calling out to me. Sometimes I'm so scared I can't move even an inch on my bed, even when the sun comes up. Worst thing is, in a dream, he once yelled in my ear telling me he wasn't leaving me, ever. This dream happened when I was 8, and I used to live in these apartments next to an old cemetery. Ever since that dream where he yelled in my ear for what felt like forever, I've been scared of loud noises, popping balloons, party poppers, fireworks, even just people yelling. I'm terrified of hearing people yell because I fear that in their voices, he'll yell back at me. That is crazy. Doom, that's awful. Sorry you had to see that. Grandpa died when I was 3. Oh my gosh, Doom, I'm so sorry. Hi, Jamin. When the toddler daughter recounted parts of me, my mother's dream. I need my glasses. Beyond creepy. When the toddler daughter recounted parts of the mother's dream. Yes, super, super creepy. Yeah, that one was super creepy. And all I looked up in that story was flesh pedestrians. And there's, but you guys can let me know. I think whatever that is, she has an attachment and she needs to get rid of that attachment somehow because that's absolutely terrifying. Drop in the comments, you guys, what kinds of stories you guys want to hear. And I'll just type a keyword and I'll look for it in my email. Because I have like a bunch of stories in my email that I can just look through. Sheesh. Yeah, that one is creepy. Or I can just look for you guys. If someone in here has sent me a story, I can also read your story. We do that on TT too. Like I'll read other people's story. That was a good one too. Yeah, that one was a good one. There's also another, oh, you know what I'll do? I'll read you guys this. Someone, I don't know if they're in here, but someone always asks me for NDE stories, and someone sent me an NDE hell story. Let me see if I can find it. Where they actually went to hell. Okay. I'll read this one. Okay. You guys cool with that one? Okay, cool, because I love all stories. Okay. I got one for you. I will type it out and send it to you tonight. Awesome. So excited, Doom. Thank you. Okay, so this one is the NDE hell story. So when I was 19, going through postpartum depression, snow, darkness, heartbeat, sound fading, I could hear it. I tried to end my life. I don't say that lightly. I'm not saying it for attention. I was in the darkest place you can imagine, but what happened after was far darker. I took 500 Seroquel. I felt myself slipping away, like falling asleep under. If she took 500 Seroquel, that would be absolutely insane. Sorry, guys. I should have given a trigger warning before this. I didn't realize that that was part of the story. Let's see. 500 Seroquel. I felt myself slipping away, like falling asleep underwater, cold, but somehow burning. Next thing I know, I drop. Not physically. My soul drops. I fall into this cave. Dark. Wet. The air was thick. It smelled like sulfur. Creepy water pooled around my feet. I heard distant creaks, metal on metal, and I knew I wasn't alone. And I felt like someone was watching me. I knew I wasn't in a good place, but what happened next, I was not prepared for. And then I saw him, Michael Myers. You might laugh, but hear me out. He's always terrified me. And I learned something down there. Your personal hell is built from what scares you the most and what you don't like on earth. He started chasing me, the slow, unstoppable walk. No matter how fast I ran, he was always there, right behind me. That mask, that silence, pure terror. I then came to this massive staircase, and at the top was a man sitting there, calm, but something about him felt wrong. He had a white and black hooded cloak on. He looked at me and smiled, not kindly, mockingly. And then he started listing everything I'd ever done wrong, out loud, laughing, cruel, exaggerated imitations of my worst moments. He mocked my pain, my mistakes, my sins. I was just crying, screaming at God to help me. Once he stopped, then he said, God cannot help you. You now go to the lake of fire and jump in. I turned around and there it was, boiling, bubbling. The screams were loud enough to make your chest shake. I said, no, please. I begged, I pleaded, and that's when it got worse. He pulled me out of these spheres of fire, and one by one, he threw them across my chest. I felt everything, real pain. I'd fall down a stair each time. I'd grab the railing to stop myself, and it was made of spikes. The metal tore through my hand, but I still held on to each spike because I wasn't letting go that easily. Then I got to the bottom, and he says, jump in, and I said, no. Then he screamed deeply and loudly, fine, I'll push you. You'll burn worse now. And he did. I fell into the fire, and what I saw, I'll never forget. Every feeling of suffering you could ever imagine started happening all at once. I was starving beyond anything I've ever felt. People were screaming for God, crying, begging, but it was too late for them. Maggots were crawling on people's skin, and worse, they were eating them. Not because they were evil, but because the hunger never ended. Some were eating their own flesh, and it grew back. This is bad, guys, sorry. Just to be torn again. And yes, I was experiencing this too. Rain fell, it was acidic. It followed me. No matter where I ran, it burned my skin like gasoline on fire. People were getting their limbs ripped off. Okay, guys, this is getting really bad. Are you guys okay with this? Because this is starting to get really bad. Thank you, Adrian. I just want to make sure that you guys are okay. Because this is starting to get graphic. Good? Okay. All right. Their limbs ripped off slowly, joint by joint, screaming. The demons laughed as they did it and grew back, and the limbs grew back every time so they could do it again, forever. I remember watching a demon abuse a woman in a horrible way. I don't want to say exactly how, but I will. Demons were essaying them. Oh, that was not good. But a voice told me these were prostitute and sex workers who never turned away. Mind you, I won't judge anyone, but in that place, everything you thought didn't matter on earth. Well, very suddenly it did. And then I saw cages, big metal rusted ones. Inside them were celebrities. I won't say names. I don't want to get people mad who idol them, but I'll tell you, it was Elvis, Marilyn Monroe, Selena, and Prince. but I recognized them. They were in chains, some crying, some silent. Please do not say the celebrities' names. Whoops. Sorry. Some people really freak out if they knew who they were. A deep, dark voice said this when it happens. Said, this is what happens when you sell your soul. You spend eternity in a cage you help build. They looked so hopeless, so lost, like they'd been there forever. After everything I saw, everything I felt, I gave up. I dropped to my knees in the flames, skin melting, heart breaking, and I screamed with everything I had. Jesus, please help me. I'll follow you. I'll change. Just get me out. And then silence. Then a hand, massive, bright, pure. It scooped me out of the flames instantly, like none of it could touch me anymore. I knew again this was Jesus. As I was being pulled up, I heard a scream. The devil. He wasn't red. He looked like a man, light-skinned with twisted horns that curled so far they almost touched his eyes. He ran out of the fire screaming, "No!" like a spoiled child who lost a toy. Then slam! I felt myself crash back into my body. I woke up in the hospital, on a ventilator. I ripped it out, gasping for air, trying to talk, trying to explain what I'd seen. The nurses and doctors just said it was typical and NDE me. I knew it was more than that. I knew it was real. I believed that was God who rescued me. I was shown where I could have gone, not because I was the worst person, but because I gave up before I gave God a chance. If you're struggling, don't wait until it's too late. There's a reason you're still breathing. Yeah, I know. I didn't mean to say that. So I'm glad there's only like 13 people in here. Yeah, that was a crazy one. That one was absolutely insane. Can you imagine that? Yeah, that's insane. That girl has sent me quite a few stories, and her stories are all just really insane. All of them. I don't know how many people in here follow me on TT as well, but I can, if you don't and you haven't seen some of my videos, I can retell some of my videos from there. No, I can't imagine God showing me hell. I know, right? That was a great story though. Love when they have so many details. I know, I love it when they have details too. Chris, is this my Chris? Is this my Chris on TT? Or is this a different Chris? Okay. Hi, Chris. I wasn't sure. Okay. Perfect. You're the best ever. Okay. Guys, so tell me, I can pick another one myself, or you can tell me what you want to hear. I agree with Chris. Selena, I know. That was a great story, though. Love when they have so many details. I know. Definitely love when they have so many details. That one was from Stacy. She said I could use her name. She has a lot of something ghostly. Okay. Let's look up let's see. Ghosts. Let's see. But there's so much in evilly. I still have any ghost or spirit stories to share. You can edit this. Let's see what this is. Evilly. Let's see. No, that's not long enough. Let's see. Ghost from a board. No, that's not long enough. Let me see, guys. Like a poltergeist. Ouija board. That's a good one. Because when I type in ghost, nothing really comes up. So I'll type in Ouija board. Ouija board. I have to say it like that out loud in order to spell it. Okay, let's see. With a Ouija board, let's do this one. Okay, let's do this one. Did I tell this one already? Probably. Okay, let's see. Thank you so much for the show. I love it. Asked me to leave out the ending. I just leave out. Okay, I have one. Okay. Hi, I've been a long time watcher. I have a story I'd like to share. I would like to know what you think. I also send more if you like, blah, blah. I grew up in a small town in Colorado, and when I was 9 years old, my dad passed away. I always had a fascination with talking to him again, and being so young, I thought he would come back. I was the one who found my dad. It was really traumatizing. My mom was very mentally ill afterwards, and I would either sleep or work most of the time, or she would either sleep or work most of the time. So I was left with my siblings, who were much older than I, and I was left alone a lot. It was to my surprise that the old woman across the street told me she was selling their home to a family friend, and they had a son my age. I was so excited. I finally met the family, and they were wonderful. It was a woman named Wendy. Please change the names. Oops. Damn it, I gotta read these stories before I say it. Her husband and two sons, Kevin and Jake. I did change the names for those. I would often go to their house when I was left alone. Kyle and I became fast friends. We had a flirtatious childhood relationship where we would crush on each other one day and beat each other up the next. We were childhood sweethearts. I introduced my mom and Stacy, we'll call the other girl Stacy, and they became best friends. Stacy helped my mom come out of the dark times with her mental illness, and we became like family. We spent holidays together, and we would often go over to their house. When Kevin and I were 17, we were having a sleepover, and we were bored and wanted something to do. I played with a Ouija board before and thought it would be spooky to play since he said he had never tried one before. So we made one. I got some cardboard and drew everything and got a bottle cap, and we were good to go, right? Wrong. We should have never made one. As we were playing, we were asking so many questions, both thinking each other were moving it. We thought nothing of it. We finally asked, who are we talking to? And it spelled out, we thought it was someone we knew. Then it kept spelling out Lucifer. We both looked up from the board into each other's eyes with sheer terror and got up and ran as fast as we could without saying goodbye. The next morning, my mom found out what we did and she ripped the board up, and we thought nothing of it. Here's the crazy part to me. Kevin, a few years later, started a business, and he died in a freak accident. I know his family won't... I have to skip over a part because she asked me to. A year to the day later, his mom died of cancer very young, and I've been diagnosed with 3 rare diseases. I sometimes don't feel like it's a coincidence. Every time I went into that house after that night, I felt something dark. The night Stacy died, before I knew, I was laying in bed awake with my eyes closed, and I heard her audibly say, "Thank you," the name of the submitter. So I know there is a whole realm we can't see. I know it was her. I've been crushed since Kevin died. We grew up so close, and not having him here on earth breaks my heart. That one was, let me look for a different Ouija board story. That one was sad, but awesome if she had vampire stories. So someone is supposed to send me a vampire story. Let me see. I can search my email and see if I have vampire stories, but someone just emailed me 2 days ago and told me that they have a vampire story for me. So let me see if I have vampire stories in here. Yeah, no, it doesn't look like I have any vampire stories, but I will have one in the next couple days. I will have one. But, oh my gosh, this Ouija board one is crazy. Chris, you might have heard a couple of these. I'm sorry. But they definitely haven't heard this one. Chris, do you care if I retell stories that retell a story that you've heard before? Because this one is, let's see. I need more scary stories. Yeah, I'm about to tell one that's really, 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 really scary. Let's see. Sarah. Let me see if it's okay. I'm good listening to them again. Okay, awesome. You're the best. I'm going to grab a little something to drink. Be right back. Okay, you got it. It's on the thing about haunted wells. I don't have anything about haunted wells, but this Ouija board story that I have is really crazy, and I do have to give a serious trigger warning, like a serious trigger warning. It's one of the worst stories I've ever told in my entire life, or ever heard in my entire life as well. Where is it, Sarah? Ouija board. Here it is. Okay. All right, you guys, it's long, and it is, when I say trigger warning, I mean trigger warning. Like, it's bad. So I'm just letting you guys know that, okay? All right. Let's see. I was born in the 80s, and back then, at least in the state of Virginia, daycares would not take children unless they were potty trained. I was 6 years old. Basically, meaning since the both of my parents worked, my mom had to find someone who babysat in their house to keep me during the day. My aunt, my mom's sister, had a best friend, we'll call her Gloria, that did just that. She babysat children in her home, and she had children too. And she was recommended by my family, so I started being babysat by this lady named Gloria. My parents said she was really nice, really good to me. I always seemed happy. I was taken care of. But then they met her husband, we'll call him Tim, and he just was a little off from the get-go. They both felt just a little off, but they thought maybe he was just quiet, and since Gloria and Tim were friends with my aunt and her husband at the time, my mom was really close to her sister, they all started hanging out as 3 couples. They did this for about a month or 2 until Tim started asking if they wanted to mess around with a Ouija board. My mom, who had not found Christ at this time, was all for it and thought, sure, let's do it. So they were all messing around and playing around with it once or twice. Nothing really happened. But then my mom said that Gloria came to her and said that Tim is messing around with the Ouija board by himself every night and has told her that he has made contact with an alien. And the alien's name, he told him, was Rodentalk. And they were all going to go out to this mountain peak near where they lived, and they were going to try to meet Rodentalk. Rodentalk was supposed to show himself to them. And my mom would babysit because they all had kids. So my mom was babysitting while they went to this mountaintop. So she says she does this, and they come back and say that nothing happened. Nothing showed anything to Tim or them. Tim still stays steadfast at playing the Ouija board every night, talking to this so-called alien. One day, my mom shows up for me to get babysat, and she says Gloria comes out, she said Gloria comes out and says, I'm so sorry, you're gonna have to find somebody else. I have to get a job. I need to get out of this house. Tim is too strange. I want my kids out of the house, and I want to be out of this house because at this time, he was not working, and she was at home with him all day. So my mom was upset, obviously, that she just had to find a new babysitter, but she's more concerned for her new friend, Gloria, and for her children. Gloria and Tim had 2 biological children, 9-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter, and an adopted 7-year-old son. My mom, of course, agrees that she'll find somebody else, but asks what came about or what happened to cause the sudden change. Gloria said that she came inside one day and Tim was sitting in a corner in a dark room, wide-eyed, staring at this corner, shivering, snot coming out of his nose, crying all over himself, whimpering like he was petrified. She looks at him and there's a red shirt on a coat hanger just sitting in the corner. And she asks him, what is your problem? He says, that shirt is possessed. It's evil. She took him to the doctor to try to get him on medication. He refused to take anything, so she ended up getting a secretary job, and it's now fall, so her kids are in school. I'm at a different babysitter because I'm still a baby, and it turns out Gloria normally took her lunch breaks at the exact same time every single day. But for some reason, on this day, a girl asked her to switch, causing her to take it 30 minutes early. During this time, she was on her lunch break earlier than usual. Her husband, Tim, called and asked her to please come home, but he had to leave a voicemail because she obviously wasn't there to answer. This was before cell phones. It was the 80s, and he just left a message that the kids were sick. He had to get them from school, and she needed to come home, So once she gets back to the office and sees that she called, she gets really scared and she thinks her children are sick and rushes home. Okay, so this is where I'm going to give the trigger warning again, you guys. So, hold on, I just lost my place. What she finds is probably the most gruesome thing I've ever heard of in my entire life. Tim had gone and gotten all of the children out of school early, but not because they were sick, because he had a plan. He got them home, sent them all outside to play, then he called the girl in first. He chased her into the bathroom and into the bathtub. He stabbed her and hacked her heart out. The boys heard their sister screaming, obviously during this, and ran into the house to see what was happening. And from what forensics could tell, they ran into their room and hid in the closet because now Tim is after them. Tim had a butcher knife. He hacked down the closet door and he hacked out both of the boys' hearts and ate them. S.A.'d their dead bodies. S.A.'d the dead body of the adopted boy and then did something that the medical examiner said in 40 years of practice he has never seen before. The human body is not physically capable of doing what he did, and it caused the medical examiner to quit. He had 6 self-inflicted stab wounds into his heart, where he stabbed himself and then pulled it out, stabbed himself again, pulled it out, and he did this 6 different times. The heart is a muscle. It is not capable of doing that, but he did it 6 times. And I bet you can guess what shirt he was wearing when they found the gruesome scene. He was found dead, of course, wearing that red shirt that was hanging up on that coat hanger that he said was possessed. And poor Gloria came home and found all of this. The cops later said they found the kids' fingers severed where they were trying to protect their hearts from getting carved out. And there was so much blood in the boys' closet that the subfloor had to be removed and replaced. My mother and I actually saw Gloria at McDonald's when I was about 35, so it had been over 30 years since this happened, and she took one look at us and screamed, I can't. This part's hard. And screamed, all right, so she starts screaming, my babies, my babies. She falls to the floor. Sorry, guys. Hold on. I can't. Okay, it's going to be really hard for me to finish that part. Basically, she falls to the floor and she starts screaming, my babies, and yeah. Then they call an ambulance and she gets taken away in an ambulance. But that's a true story, which is absolutely insane. Yeah. So we've read a lot of really terrible ones. God heal her, yeah. So let's try to read one that's like scary but not horrible. Let's read one that no one has heard, because one that I haven't told on TT or here yet, because I just got one in. Let's see what this is. Cool. Okay, so someone literally just sent me in this story. Appalachian. Oh, I can look up Appalachian first. I'll look up Appalachian and then we'll read the other story that I was just sent in, because no one has heard that one because it was just sent in. Abby, I just read that one. Let's see. Submission Kaylin, living in the Appalachian Mountains. Okay, here is an Appalachian one. Who here, you guys have probably already heard this one too. Thank you for the likes, I appreciate that. Let's see, I'm trying to find one that you guys have not heard. Oh, you guys have not heard. Okay, have you guys heard the one, I have one that is about a demon at Disney, which was on my, either way it's fine. Yeah, so let me do this one first. Let's do the one that just came in because no one has heard that one, and then I'll read an Appalachian one. Okay. Let's see. Hi, Kajsa. My name is blank, and I'm a follower of yours on TikTok and YouTube. I have a couple of stories to share with you. They aren't your typical spooky stories, but they were scary for me. Okay, the first happened when I was about 17 or 18. I lived with my boyfriend and his mom in a not so nice apartment complex. Side note, the city this happened in is one of those areas the Golden State Killer was active in back in the 70s. Anyways, one day in the fall, I was bored and I wanted to go for a walk to get some fresh air and exercise. This was a walk that I had done numerous times and had no issue whatsoever. I was actually almost back to the apartment complex when a middle-aged man, probably in his 50s, pulled up, asking if I wanted a ride home. I immediately told him no. He was very persistent, telling me it was cold out, it was no problem, etc. I again told him no and that I was almost home. He had asked me where I lived, and I naively told him right there and pointed in the direction of our apartment complex. He still asked a time or two if I was sure that I didn't want to get a ride from him, and I was firm with him, and I said no. He said it was fine. Although not the most scary situation, it was very uncomfortable for me, especially being so young. My second story happened when I was 20 years old. At the time, I did not have a vehicle and walked to and from work. I typically worked swing shifts or closing shifts. That night, I was closing and I left at midnight. I surprisingly was never scared of walking home alone late at night like that. This is until one night when I was walking home. I was just in my own little world, not paying attention to much. I remember looking at a building to my right as I was walking along, and when I turned my head forward again, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a man in the middle of the road. He was an extremely tall, big man. I would say well over 6 feet. He was just standing in the middle of the road, staring at me. I at that point had stopped walking. I locked eyes with him and was just frozen on the spot. Instant fear ran through me. He then spoke. I couldn't hear what he said, and I replied with, "What?" Stupid, I know. He repeated himself, asking if I was hungry. I immediately said no. I was not far from the store I worked at. I turned around and started to walk fast back towards the store. I turned around and saw that he was following me. That fear I felt in that moment, I have not felt again since. Luckily, I made it back to the store quickly, and the night shift workers were outside taking a break. I started to sob when I got back there. He had stopped following me at some point, and my manager was able to give me a ride home. Funny enough, as she was taking me home, he was being arrested across the street. I do believe he was drunk or high. I was lucky to be far away from him initially, to stay just a few steps ahead of him. I think being under the influence worked to my advantage as well. I do not think I was overreacting or being hyperbolic. I do think I felt the instant fear for a reason, and it was not good. I obviously don't know what his intentions were, but I'm convinced it would have been bad. Honestly, if he had caught up to me, there wouldn't have been much I could do physically. I'm only 5'1", and at the time, probably not even 120 pounds. He towered over me. This happened over 12 years ago, and I will never forget it. So that one wasn't a ghost story. That was more of like a real story. That was not paranormal, but still creepy. Better safe than sorry is always be on your guard. Absolutely agree with that. Absolutely. Let's see. We have, what other one did I say that I was going to read? Let's look up a story on Reddit. There was one on Reddit that I got from the new one. I just read the new one. That was the new one. So let's look up on Reddit. Give me a word that I look up on Reddit. What's up with the demons at Disney? Oh, I can read that one. Let's do that one. That one's a good one. I read that on TT. Disney. Hold on one second. This one was a good one. Okay. Here we go. All right. My name is Kelly. Okay, can I use you can use my name. Okay, so my mom, my sister, Elise, who is 16, little cousin, Madison, who is 8, and uncle all planned a trip to Disney for a week at the Art of Animation Hotel. We flew in from New Jersey and took a bus into the hotel, Disney's Art of Animation, which apparently through my research was made on an abandoned asylum. Apparently, I am not the only one who has experienced things there, as I have looked it up on Reddit right after it happened. It may not be there now, as Disney is very protective of their image. I was 3 months pregnant with my daughter when we went, and for some reason, once I got there onto the hotel property, after we got off the Disney transportation bus, I started experiencing weird cramps, as if I was going through labor. It got more intense the deeper we went into the hotel. I started panicking, and I actually needed to get checked out by the medical team they sent up to my room, and they checked me out and said I was fine, and that it was probably just anxiety or dehydration. They gave me an IV and some safe medications for anxiety, and I took a long nap. I felt better after that. So we went out on the first day and had fun at the Animal Kingdom. Everything was fine. My friend decided to visit me as he was also in Disney with his family. We met up at my hotel and he got drinks. I had a few non-alcoholic drinks. It was late and I went back to my hotel. But on my walk back, I began to hear whispers and the cramps returned. I felt something grab me and push me. I tripped and fell on the concrete, but no one was around. Luckily, I didn't land on my stomach, so it was okay. I went back and everybody was sleeping. I slept on the pull-out bed myself. The first night, I suddenly woke up and heard the scratching noises in the bathroom that was directly across from my pull-out bed. I then realized I couldn't move or speak. The funny thing was, I wasn't laying on my side. Usually with sleep paralysis, you have to be on your back, but I started panicking. I felt the cramps again, and I saw a dark figure, long black hair in the bathroom, black face, head like a basketball, as round as a basketball. It looked just like a basketball's head, wearing a white dress with a black Minnie Mouses all over it, standing there staring at me. I couldn't get any words out. I couldn't scream. After about 2 minutes, I was able to fight through it and get up. I was fully awake. I started screaming and woke everybody up. My mom and uncle and sister woke up and tried to calm me down and tell me everything was okay. My mom slept next to me that night. As I continued hearing whispers, we closed the bathroom door. The next day, I woke up and there was some blood on my sheets. I was scared. I went to the nearest hospital and got checked out. They said everything was fine and that it was probably just from stress and that I needed to relax and just have some fun. So we went to downtown Disney, kept it light, saw some shows, got some food, shopping, etc. My cousin and uncle stayed behind at the hotel to go into the pool that day. When we came back, my little cousin was watching a paranormal show with demon hunters. I don't know why my uncle wasn't paying attention to this, but I made her turn it off. I asked her why she was watching this. She said, in my dream last night, a girl in a white dress with black hair told me to watch it, that it opens a portal for her to come play with me. I freaked out and started telling my uncle and mom, and they thought I was being dramatic. I am Catholic, and I felt my mom would know better than this. This is the night where it happened. I felt okay to lay down on the pull-out bed, closed the bathroom door, and put a cross I found in the room with a Bible in front of the bathroom door and went to bed. But I woke up again, this time on my back, with my head sideways. The door was open. The girl with the white Minnie Mouse dress and black hair opened the door, somehow threw the Bible and cross against the wall. I don't know how it didn't wake them up. She started slowly walking towards me. I couldn't do anything. I was stuck and scared. Luckily, my cousin started screaming and she said, she's here, she's going to hurt you, run, and was crying. It woke up my uncle and my mom and sister. Then the figure slowly started backing up into the bathroom. I was able to move. I grabbed my laptop as my phone was dead and shined the light into the bathroom, and I saw its face, black and blood dripping down. It disappeared within 5 seconds. I screamed again and was ballistically crying. My mom had our room changed in the middle of the night. I asked my cousin what she saw. She said, I saw her coming to get you. She said she was going to drag you under the earth. She wouldn't tell my uncle what she told me. She said if she did, she would get in trouble. I have never been so horrified in my entire life. After switching rooms, I slept with my mom and my sister. My cramps were gone, no bleeding, but I still heard whispers as I was trying to fall asleep, saying, I will see you again. We switched hotels the next day and everything was fine. No cramps, no bleeding, no nightmares. We finished our vacation and came back. My daughter is now 6 and very healthy, but I have to tell you, she sees things in the middle of the night, all the time. She refuses to sleep alone. I don't know what that thing did to me, but I went to my church and told them what happened. They did some prayers and blessed me and my baby that following week, and everything was fine since. I looked into the Art of Animation Hotel before I sent this email, and unfortunately, the things I found on it back then, around 2011, are no longer there. The only thing it says is that it was built from an abandoned place and that a cast worker heard an unexplained children's laughter by the pool at night. The ghost, whatever it was, there was a little girl. I wish I had more proof to show you, but that's all I have. You're more than welcome to use my name. Oh, I have a ton of shadow people stories. A ton of them. What's up with me? That one is so crazy to me. The basketball head thing, I can't deal with the basketball head thing. That creeps me out so much. Like the big basketball head and then the long dark hair. Like, no, thank you. I have a ton of shadow people stories, by the way. I get them all the time, but I don't ever, like, really read them. Ah! Let me see. 1 second. Yeah, I have 100 of them. Let's see. Here's one. And you haven't heard any of these, Chris. You haven't heard this one either. Okay. Here we go. I want a pistachio now. That was a Skittle. Because I eat candy when I'm live and all the time. I need to stop eating candy. Okay. 2. Hi. I believe me and my mom are sensitive to things that others cannot see. My story starts back in June of 2021. Me and my fiance had just purchased our very first home, a beautiful 3-bedroom home. We loved it as soon as we saw it, but what we didn't know is something else was living inside of it. When moving in, excuse me, it was me, him, and we had a 7-month-old son at the time. My family didn't help us move because they were all working long hours, so it was just the 2 of us. As we brought in the furniture to each of the different rooms, my fiance realized above each door was a prayer card and a cross. He's not one to think they are really helping protect the home, so he had taken them down. As time went on, we start to set up the house more and more, but the more time I spent in the house, the more heavy feeling I had. We finally had our house set up enough to invite family over. As soon as my mom stepped into the front door, she had the same feeling I had. It was just super heavy. It was this super heavy feeling. She didn't say anything to me at first because she was worried about making me feel uncomfortable, not knowing I was already feeling this feeling. A few months pass and we are just living life. My fiance would get sent away on work trips a lot, so it would leave just me and my 9-month-old son alone for days. After putting him to bed, I would go to relax in our living room and I would feel like I was being watched. And I would catch stuff out of the corner of my eye, and I would hear footsteps that would sound like they were coming from the other side of the house. But I didn't want to tell anyone because I felt like they would think I was crazy or something. A few more months passed after I started to see stuff. A few months more passed and after I started to see stuff out of the corner of my eye, and my fiance's cousin would stay over a lot, and she would sleep in the living room. She started to see a dark figure at night looking at her from around the corner, and it would freak her out. She would come and stay with us in our room. Fast forward November 2021, my fiance moved his 2 younger brothers into our house. One of them would like to stay up watching TV or playing video games, and he would just sit he would see the same dark figure watching him. Around this time, me and my fiance decided to move our son into his own room since my fiance's brothers would be sleeping on the side of the house, we wouldn't worry about too much of my son being alone. Sorry, this is very jumbled. We had purchased a baby monitor just to be able to check on him or hear him when he would cry, but it wouldn't catch him crying. It would catch him laughing or trying to babble to someone in the corner of his room. A few months passed after this, and whatever was trying to make my son laugh started to make him cry. At this point, I was 3 months pregnant with our second son, January of 2022. I just finally finished putting together this beautiful wall of art and pictures. This one picture frame housed a hand-drawn family photo my aunt had drawn of me and my fiance's parents. It was of me, my fiance, his parents, and our son. My aunt had drawn it for us because at the time I hadn't gotten to physically meet my future in-laws because they live in another country and we had just gone through COVID virus shutdown. But this was the only photo that would move. It would either be taken off the wall, sitting on the floor, or it would be numbed and not centered on the nail. Numbed and not centered on the nail. I don't know what that means. I got to the point where it would make me mad because I would be fixing it every other day, and I thought it was my fiance or his brothers messing with me, but it wasn't. I finally broke down and invited my mom over because I wanted to talk to her about everything I was going through, because I knew she was the only one that would truly take me seriously. As I tell her everything that is happening to me, I see her face start to change, and she tells me that the first time she had came to my house, she felt the same heavy feeling too. So the next day, my mom decided to come back to sage my home and make these protection things and put them on the wall around the house and over my doors. We also placed bells on my doors, so every time someone came in or went out of the doors, the bells would sound. Apparently this would bring a small dose of positive energy. Everything seemed to stop for about a month. No one was seeing anything or hearing anything, and I wasn't having that heavy feeling once I was having before. Around this time, I was now 6 months pregnant. My fiance and his brothers, now working together at the same company, all had to leave to go on a work trip. The time was about 4 a.m. and they had just walked out the door, and I was turning off the lights around the house before I went back to bed. My son had a toy box full of toys in our living room, and as I walked by, one of the toys said, "I'm over here. I'm over here." It made me stop in my tracks, and then it repeated itself. "I am over here." I had walked over to the toy box and I had opened it up. It was the first toy sitting on the top. The toy did make sounds, but it would only say one word sounds, like the color of buttons on it, or the animal sounds that were printed on the buttons. It didn't ever say any other words then. It wasn't supposed to. I had taken that toy and threw it out my front door. That morning, I called my mom and told her I would come stay at her house until my fiance was due to come home. That Friday, he was coming home, so I went back home to clean up and make dinner. As soon as his arrival came, he got home, he picked up the toy that was sitting out in front against the front door and brought it inside. When my fiance and his brothers arrived home, this is so jumbled. When my fiance and his brothers arrived home, they had seen it sitting next to the door and decided to bring it in, knowing it was one of my son's favorite toys. I had told him to put it back outside because it had talked to me. After going back and forth, he finally put it back outside. But as he did, he told me I was just imagining it. Well, fast forward to March of 2022, I was due to have my son. So my dad had taken my son while me, my fiance, and mom went to the hospital, which left me and my 2 brother-in-laws alone in the house for 3 days. At this time, one of my brother-in-law wasn't working full-time with the company my fiance had gotten him into. He would sometimes only work 1 or 2 days a week if he was lucky. So most of that time while I was having my son, he was in the house alone. And he told me that he would hear footsteps that sounded like someone was almost running back and forth from one side of the house to the other. This is when things really took a turn for him, and he would truly start to believe me. He had woken up in the middle of the night to see something standing at the end of his bed. He said he tried to sit up, but something wasn't letting him, so he just laid there looking at it. He said it finally disappeared and he was able to move again. After coming home, with my second son, things truly seemed to calm down. Now in May of 2025, we occasionally see dark shadows, or what we'll hear opening doors and drawers in my bathroom. It will even move my car keys around my house, but we learn to live with it. I truly feel like whatever it is living in my house is a child and just wants friends. Sorry, guys, that was kind of jumbled. Sometimes it's hard for me to read stories because of the way they're written. But that one was about shadow people. That's about I need my freaking glasses. Oh, okay. So, guys, I'm going to read one more story and then I'm going to go to bed. Tell me what story you want me to read. Or what kind of story. Give me a word and I'll look it up in my email. Like poltergeist, flesh pedestrian, Appalachian stories, mimic stories, black-eyed children stories, which I don't know if I have black-eyed children. I want more. Haunted hotel. I have that. I have that. I have a couple of them. Okay, let's see. Oh, this one is long. I need to save this one for a video. Remind me. I need to remind myself somehow to save that for a video. Let's see. This began in 2022. For a short time, I was staying at a hotel in Malvern, Pennsylvania. Malvern, Pennsylvania. His hotel was haunted. You could feel an energy shift as soon as you walked into the place. All around it, there were doors with sheets hanging off the corner, as if to remind you, staff. Wait, hold on. All around it, there were doors with sheets hanging off of one of the corner, as if it was to remind staff not to book anyone in them in certain rooms. There was a laundry room, and many times from the corner of my eyes, I could see a big shadow going back and forth past the door. One night, another guest and I were doing laundry, and out of nowhere, a shadowy arm smacked her phone out of her hand and onto the floor. Normally, I'd blame her drunkenness for that, but we both saw it and had tears in our eyes. It kind of looked like the Grim Reaper. I met my boyfriend there, and his room was next to, on top of the curdled room. I can't read the story, you guys. The grammar is awful. Let me find this other one. 1 second. Let me just type in hotel and see, because I know. In a hotel as I became homeless. Let's see. I know I have one. A creepy hotel. Okay, here we go. Oh, this one's kind of long, but let's see. Whoa. So there's this creepy thing that happened to me after an incident. This is when I was still in the hospital. I was laying on my hospital bed one night. Okay, so I don't know if this is a hotel story, but this is a hospital story. I can't find the hotel story. I was laying on my hospital bed one night. I still had my breathing tube and feeding tube in, and this time the doctors had just came in and checked on me and gave me dinner. I was still on seizure watch, so my mom was laying down with me on a little couch. Oh, okay, so I want to tell you guys before. This is from a YouTuber who told us he got into an accident. So I'll give you some backstory. I gotta jump off. I gotta get early up for a doctor's appointment. Love you. Good night. Okay, good night. Have a good night. Love you. Have a safe night. I'll see you later, Chris. Thank you so much for modding. I appreciate you, girly. Okay, so this person is actually from YouTube, and they are, I don't know if you guys saw the video, but they got into a four-wheeler accident, and they started experiencing things after the four-wheeler accident. So this is when the person was in the hospital. This is what they experienced while they were in the hospital. All right, so here's the first creepy thing that happened to me after my accident. This is when I was in the hospital. I was laying in my hospital bed one night. I still had my breathing tube in and feeding tube in. And at this time, the doctors had just come in and checked on me to give me my dinner. I was still on seizure watch, so my mom was laying down on a little couch right next to my bed. But after the doctors had left, it was late at night, so my mom walked up to me and said goodnight, and then she turned the lights off and we went to bed. I've never told anyone this story before because I was still on so much medicine and painkillers that I thought that it was what caused me to have this happen, and I couldn't even move yet, like not even a twitch or a finger or a toe. Anyway, we went to bed, and about 4 o'clock in the morning, I knew that it was 4 o'clock in the morning because I could move my body and my eyes, and I looked at the clock in the room and it said 4 a.m. I was looking around my room because I was just bored, and then this tall figure arose. It was in all black with what looked like a top hat on, and he said in a creepy tone, "You're coming with me." And then I just stared, and then I just started rising up in the air, and I looked down and I looked down at my body, and then quite a ways up I heard a voice. I don't know what it said. I couldn't make it out what it was, but then the figure in the top hat let me go, and I started falling, and I fell through the roof, almost like I fell back into my body. This one wasn't all that bad. I just thought I would share it with you. This happened about a year after. I had just finished feeding the horses, and they were in their stalls, and I was just driving around waiting for them to be done, and I was messing around on one of the state land trails. And then when I thought they were done, I was on my way back to the stalls. When I was going down the road, I saw this thing flying around in the sky, and it didn't look like anything I'd ever seen before. So I was intrigued by it. And then I also was creeped out by it. And I was always told by my mom that it's giving off I was always told by my mom, if it's giving off vibes, then don't look too hard because you might not like what you see. So I went and let the horses out, and I was on my way back home, and then I see it, and it certainly wasn't anything I had ever seen before. It looked like it was straight out of an alien movie. It was like flying metal, but with a lot more stuff that I can't even describe. But it was hovering there until I think it saw me, and I wasn't wasting any time. I threw it in my truck and I threw it into reverse into a ditch, threw it forward, and then took off the little dirt road. I saw the speedometer climb to 40. I looked behind me, right on my tail, 50, still on my tail, 60, close, but getting farther. I said, why not? Better safe than sorry. 70, couldn't see it anymore. But I was not taking any chances. I kept 75 until I got home, and I told my brother and my sister. We hopped in the car, and she got her gun because we didn't care. I flew within 50 feet. It flew within 50 feet of me legally. We asked my dad first because he's a lawyer, but legally, if it flies within 50 feet of us, then we have the rights to shoot it. And we were going down the road looking for it, and we couldn't find it, and we still can't find it to this day. The next story is what I refer to as the Cupcake Man, and you'll understand why by the end of the story. Okay. Did you guys understand that? I didn't really understand that. Okay. I was laying in bed, and I fall asleep a couple hours later. I woke up, and I had the feeling that something was watching me. So I scanned the room. I saw nothing. But then I looked in the chair right next to my bed, and I saw this figure sitting in the chair. And it was just like a black blob sitting in the chair. And then whatever it was looked at me and started walking towards me, and then climbed up on the end of my bed and stood right there and proceeded to pull its eyeballs out of its eye sockets and shoved cupcakes into its eye sockets, and then fell through my bed and disappeared. What? I think the land that we were on has some history that we don't know about. And the land is that part of Florida where I lived used to have a bunch of Native Americans, and still in some places does. And we have found a lot of weird stuff on the land and the land surrounding us. The next story happened when we were at my mom's garden. Some backstory on the piece of land: the previous person that we bought it from, right after we bought it, unalived herself on it. Oh, that's sad. This was during hunting season. So we just got a deer and we were cleaning it. And there was 3 people, me, my sister, and my dad. And about 15 minutes go by. And then we all heard this little girl's voice say, "Help me, it hurts." We never actually saw it though. And we played it off as my dad's radio in his truck because his truck had a radio in it. The door opened, and then 15 minutes later, when my dad turned his truck off, because I'm sorry, this is so jumbled. Why are these emails so jumbled? Okay, because his truck was on, the radio was on, the door was open, and then 15 minutes later, with my dad, turned his truck off, because that creeped all of us out. Just me and my sister heard it, and it was when we were cleaning up over there. So me, her, and my dad booked it home, and we're not messing around with that. All of those things repeat every night. The next 2 stories are stories my mom told me happened to her, but were worth telling you. These are short, you guys. My mom getting a visit in a creepy hotel. Oh, there you go. She is in her hotel one night when she was in South Florida during law school, and she was laying in her bed, and this drunk-looking man walks out of the bathroom, so she runs downstairs to tell the hotel people at the front desk, and when she tells them, the hotel people say, "Oh, that's the owner. He passed away a couple months ago. We've been getting a lot of reports seeing him." This is also a really short one, but worth mentioning. This happened when I was not even a year old, and my mom was giving me a bottle. And then she said I started looking up and waving my bottle in the air, and that she didn't know what I was doing, so she called my sister in. She was also able to see spirits and stuff, but anyways, she called her in, and then she said that my sister walked in and said, "He's just waving to Poppy." Poppy being my grandpa that passed away. So like I said, it's really short, but it's interesting. Yeah. Not really, but gave me Mothman vibes. Yeah, I need my glasses for this. This camera makes me look so weird. Yeah, I also have a Mothman story too, but I have to go to bed, but I'll read the Mothman story next time because I'm going to start going live once a week on here with stories, and I'll be prepared with some stories, and then in the lives I'm also going to be talking about certain like I'm going to be talking about Amityville Horror in one live. I'm also going to be talking about the brown, what's it called again, Jamin? The something demon, brownstone demon, or brown something demon. I forgot what it is, but I've been researching that one too. So we're going to be talking about those ones. Okay? Okay? Brownsville Road. Thank you. Okay, you guys. Sorry, I was very tired tonight, but I figured I'd jump on here instead of doing a video since I've never done a live before. But thank you for those of you who are in here. I appreciate your support and your love, and I love you guys so much. And I will see you guys either in my next video or the next live. But have a wonderful night. I love you. Bye. Bye, Jamin. Tell your wife I said bye. And bye everyone else that was in here. Bye, Adrian. Bye, TW. Those are the only ones I'm seeing right now. There was also Doom. But anyways, have a great night. You guys are the best. Love you.